The aforementioned leader of the most powerful Western democracy has just employed his cell phone inside the residency of the modern air-conditioned White House. So great to see. This is, let's see here, 11:05, just as we were underway. So great to see how unified the Republican Party was on today's vote concerning statements I made about 4 Democrat congresswomen. If you really want to see statements, look at the horrible things they said about our country, Israel, and much more. They are now the top most visible members of the House Democrats who are now wedded to this bitterness and hate. The Republican vote was 187-4. Wow. Also, this was the first time since 1984 that the Speaker of the House was ruled out of order and broke the rules of the House. Quite a day. Robert Costa, you just reeled off the top of your head, a list of the things not being done. It's an enormous list of things not being done. And when in a city like this, New Yorkers watch the lights go out on a Saturday night, plunging the city into darkness, say nothing of the fact that the mayor's out running for president in Iowa. That's for a conversation at another time. It puts things like, I'll say it, infrastructure into the public mind and the public consciousness front and center.
And let's not, as a reporter here, put aside these Republican votes who supported the legislation. 2 of them, one, Will Hurd from Texas, African-American, a veteran. He said enough. He broke with his party. Brian Fitzpatrick, the key swing district, the Philadelphia suburbs of Pennsylvania, Bucks County. He said, I'm going to go with the Democrats in this. A former FBI agent, a retired FBI agent, one of the most competitive seats in the country. There are cracks in this party. Most of them, when I talk to them privately, they say, as Senator Sanders told me today at the Post, that they live in fear of the president because they need his political capital to win re-election in 2020. But they also know that they have to face history, and history will look back at these moments. But they say they have already swept along in this riptide ever really since not just 2015 and 2016, but 2011 and 2012. When everyone from Mitt Romney, now a senator from Utah, to other top Republicans accepted the support of a birther in Donald John Trump, then a businessman, who questioned whether President Obama was from this country. This kind of attack has been central to President Trump's political career for at least the last decade, making others, opponents, feel like they're not American and casting them in that way.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.